Get off our property. The HOA president was absolutely screaming. Her finger pointed so hard at my chest, I could almost feel the heat. Right behind her, two board members were squared up, trying to look tough, and this was the third cop of the day. They honestly thought they had me dead to rights, cornered on my own land. I had only closed on this property 2 weeks ago, 2 quiet, beautiful acres, 1 old forgotten lake all mine. But for 2 decades, they've been running it like their personal kingdom. My name is Evan Holloway, and my whole life is about land. I'm a title examiner and a surveyor. I've spent the last 12 years deep in boundary disputes in those dusty county courthouse basements, tracing property truths back through generations. When I found this spot, Whisper Lake, down in suburban South Carolina, the price seemed insane, $85,000 for 2 acres and an 8-acre body of water. People told me it was too good to be true, but I knew how to check every record, every comma, every forgotten covenant. This deed was clean. No easements, no HOA strings, nothing. I just wanted peace after my mom passed. In this place, stagnant water, overgrown reeds, just quiet. It was the perfect kind of beautiful, messy solitude. I was setting up my surveying equipment that first morning when the cavalry arrived. 3 people marching out from the neighboring Oak Haven Estates subdivision. Leading the charge was Cynthia Vance, the HOA president. She carried herself like a queen on a budget, all sharp edges and unquestioned confidence. "Excuse me," she said, cutting right through the air. "I'm Cynthia Vance. This lake is community property. You need to review our maintenance regulations before you touch anything." She nodded toward a stiff guy named Gavin, who held a binder thick enough to stop a bullet. Gavin has copies of all 37 rules you'll need to follow. I try to be reasonable. "I appreciate you stopping by, but I've reviewed the deed thoroughly. This lake is part of my private property. It's not listed in your covenants or designated as any common area." Cynthia's smile was purely mechanical. It didn't touch her eyes at all. "We've managed this lake for 20 years. Everyone in the neighborhood knows it belongs to the community. Your deed must be wrong." Gavin stepped up, a sneer twisting his mouth. "Are you even sure you understand what you're reading? What exactly do you do for a living?" That question, I knew that move instantly. The moment they realize you're not the rich, clueless city slicker they expected, they try to belittle your intelligence, try to make you doubt your own facts. "I'm a land surveyor and title examiner," I told him, making sure my tone was calm, even. "I've been resolving boundary disputes for over a decade. I know exactly what I'm reading, and this land is mine." Cynthia cut in before Gavin could recover. "If you continue claiming otherwise, we'll contact the authorities about trespassing." I didn't bother arguing back. I just pulled out my phone and started documenting. A clear photo of the private property sign I just installed, the county stamp on my deed, and then a nice, wide shot of all 3 of them standing right there on my land, making threats. The first police officer arrived at 11:30 a.m., answering a call about trespassing on community property. He was polite, professional. He looked at my deed, radioed his supervisor, and came back. "Sir, you're the legal owner. It's noted. Try to work it out with your neighbors." The second officer came at 1:45 p.m. Same documents, same conclusion. The third arrived at 4:30 p.m. 3 separate 911 calls in 6 hours, all from the same person, all claiming I was trespassing on HOA property. This wasn't some simple misunderstanding. This was coordinated intimidation. They were testing my resolve, trying to use the cops to harass me right off the title. That night, I sat on my tailgate, watching the sun dip behind the trees and the water go dark and still, the kind of quiet that reminded me why I bought the place. My mom always told me land was the only thing no one could take from you if you knew how to hold on to it. These people, Cynthia and her crew, they claimed authority they didn't possess. And my job, for the last 12 years, have been finding the paper trail that proves exactly when those claims started to be lies. I remembered one of my old title cases, a fight over a little creek that ended when I found blueprints showing a 1930s culvert connecting it to a navigable river. Federal jurisdiction. Case dismissed. Water doesn't care about property lines, and neither does the federal government. I pulled up the historical records for Whisper Lake. It started as a mill pond way back in the 1880s. But then, there it was. In 1947, the Army Corps of Engineers issued a permit and installed a massive underground culvert connecting the pond to Willow Creek. Willow Creek, I immediately confirmed, feeds directly into the Garnet River, a navigable federal waterway. Bam! That was the sound of the bottom falling out of Cynthia Vance's world. That culvert was still there, hidden under years of silt and neglect, which meant this wasn't just a pond on my land. It was legally part of the waters of the United States. I spent the next 2 days building what I called the evidence binder. I downloaded the original 1952 Corps of Engineers dredging permit, the 1947 USGS topo maps, and the full text of Title 33, CFR Section 329.4. That regulation defines any water body with a physical connection to a navigable waterway, even a hidden culvert, as under federal jurisdiction. I printed 3 certified copies. If Cynthia wanted documentation, I was going to give her a mountain. She had no more right to regulate Whisper Lake than she did to pass zoning laws for the Atlantic Ocean. 2 mornings later, I drove onto the property, and the chain on my gate was cut cleanly through, the lock gone. My private property sign had been ruined, spray-painted with a crude red slash and the word thief. Then I saw my truck. A long, deliberate scratch ran deep down the driver's side panel. That was the line. That's when I stopped playing neighbor. I installed 4 wireless, cloud-backed security cameras immediately. And sure enough, at 11:43 that night, the gate camera triggered. A white pickup truck belonging to Gavin, the stiff board member, rolled slowly past the entrance, paused, then drove off. He was testing the boundaries, seeing what he could get away with. I compiled all the evidence, the photos, the police reports, the footage of Gavin's truck, and sent a formal complaint to the sheriff's office. Then I hit the nuclear button. I drafted emails to the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA Region 4 office. Subject: Request for jurisdictional determination and notification of dispute. I attached the maps, the 1952 federal permit, and the relevant CFR section. This wasn't a local property dispute anymore. This was a matter of federal record. The machinery of federal oversight was officially in motion, and once that motor starts turning, it doesn't stop. 10 days later, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Mr. Holloway, this is Delia Brennan from the Army Corps of Engineers, Atlanta Regulatory Division. We've reviewed your documentation. You are correct. The lake on your property falls under waters of the United States. I felt the last bit of tension I'd been carrying for weeks just dissolve into the floor. The cease and desist letter will go out to the HOA within 48 hours, she clipped. We're also opening a compliance review to determine if they've been discharging materials, fertilizers, herbicides into the lake. That's a potential Clean Water Act violation. I hung up, breathing deep. They'd called the cops on me 3 times for trespassing. Now, the federal government was sending a cease and desist letter to them. That's what happens when you substitute intimidation for actual research. I had already met with Eleanor Rossi, a longtime neighbor who'd sent me an anonymous tip. She confirmed the HOA had been collecting $120 per household since 2003 for a property they didn't even own, racking up over $430,000 in bogus maintenance fees. Using the HOA's own bylaws, Eleanor and 21 other homeowners petitioned for a special meeting. This wasn't about arguing. It was about the public execution of a 20-year-old lie. The night of the meeting, the Oak Haven Community Center was absolutely packed. Over 100 people, standing room only. The air was thick and heavy. Cynthia called the meeting to order, her voice tight and authoritarian. I walked up, plugged in my laptop, and put the 1947 USGS map on the projector screen. My name is Evan Holloway, and I'm here to share the truth about the lake you've been told is community property. I began. Fact 1. Due to an engineered culvert connecting it to a navigable federal waterway, this lake is under the jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA. The slide switched to Title 33, CFR 329.4, highlighted in bold, unassailable type. The HOA has zero authority over this water. Fact 2. The lake is on my private deed and is not listed anywhere in the Oak Haven Estates covenants. I showed the plat map. HOA boundaries in red, my property in blue. The separation was screamingly obvious. Fact 3. Despite not owning the lake, the HOA has collected approximately $430,000 in maintenance fees over the last 20 years. I paused, letting that number hang in the silence, watching the faces in the crowd. I'd like to ask the board a simple question. Where did that money go? Cynthia tried to interrupt, but Philip, Walter, the treasurer, looked up, pale and shaking. He spoke up, surprising everyone, maybe even himself. Cynthia, I've been asking for months. I've never actually seen a separate liability policy for the lake. The room erupted. An old man stood up and confirmed that the lake belonged to the previous owner, Mr. Harper, and the HOA just took over after he died. I seized the momentum. I propose a vote. All those in favor of an independent financial audit of the Lake Maintenance Fund, please raise your hands. Hands shot up everywhere. A sea of agreement. Easily 70 or more. Cynthia, her face flushed with fury and defeat, slammed her papers down. This meeting is adjourned. She practically sprinted for the door, Gavin following her like a loyal dog. 2 days later, the county called. The audit they ordered revealed the financial truth. The majority of the $430,000 was gone, dispersed through vague checks. And the smoking gun, $85,000 paid to a limited liability company called Lakeview Services, registered to Cynthia Vance's home address, dissolved right after the money was transferred. That, the county liaison said calmly, is embezzlement. We've referred the matter to the district attorney's office. Then the EPA hit. Their inspection found elevated phosphate levels from unpermitted herbicide runoff. Clean Water Act violation. $45,000 fine against the Oak Haven Estates HOA. The consequences came in waves. Cynthia Vance was arrested for embezzlement and fraud. Gavin pled no contest to vandalism and received a restraining order. Walter, the treasurer, got immunity for cooperating, admitting he signed documents out of fear. The HOA was placed under court-appointed receivership. The final tally, $430,000 in fees to be refunded to the homeowners. It wasn't full restitution, but it was justice. Eleanor Rossi ran for the new president and won easily, campaigning on a simple platform: transparency and sticking to basic HOA duties. I started the lake restoration project that spring, not fighting oversight, but working with the Corps of Engineers. I got the necessary permit, hired a firm, and began the 3-phase project, dredging 3 feet of accumulated silt, repairing the culvert, and planting a beautiful native buffer zone along shoreline. A year after the restoration, I stood on the small dock I'd built, my feet dangling over the water. The house was finished 50 yards back. The shoreline was dense and green. The water was clean enough to see bluegill darting below. I had found the piece I'd bought, but I realized it wasn't free. It was built on documentation, patience, and a willingness to let the process run its course. It all started because I asked one simple question: who actually has authority here? The answer had dismantled 20 years of lies and manipulation. My mom was right. Knowledge is the one thing no one can take from you. But you have to be willing to use it. You have to stand up when things are wrong, and you have to trust that the truth will hold up under scrutiny if you document it carefully enough. So, here's the question for you. Have you ever been pushed around by a tiny, unchecked authority, maybe at your job or in your own neighborhood? Did they rely on you being too tired, too scared, or too busy to check the documents? Or maybe you were on a board trying to do the right thing, and you've seen how quickly power can start to corrupt? Let me know in the comments below. Was I wrong to go straight to the feds with Title 33, or was it the only way to finally stop the intimidation? Drop your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about property, power, and the paper trails that expose everything.